Since the early 1970s, Al Di Meola has been one of the most popular and influential guitarists in the world. From his early years with Chick Corea, his historic performances with John McLaughlin and Paco de la Chia, to his current exploits with his groups Al Di Meola Project and World Sinfonia, Al Di Meola continues to be an innovative leader in acoustic and electric jazz fusion guitar. In this video, we'll meet Al and get a close-up look into his playing style and technique, along with personal thoughts on improvising, learning and practicing. We'll also see Al perform many of his fine compositions. Some, which have been double-tracked, feature Al playing both the rhythm and lead parts.
Hi, I'm Al Di Meola, and welcome to my video. We're going to get into a lot of different techniques that I use with right hand and left hand, scales and picking patterns, as many different examples and tunes, also some new tunes that will demonstrate a lot of that. So before we get started, I want to give you a note to tune up to. I'll give you an A, although some of the pieces might vary a little bit, but this is a general tone right here that should work on most of the pieces. I started playing guitar in where I grew up in New Jersey, in my hometown. I began taking lessons at the age of 8 years old from a great teacher who is still teaching today, also still living in New Jersey. His name is Bob Aslanian, and both he and I wrote the book Chord Scales and Arpeggios as well. So it's been quite a while that I've been playing, and he was very much into jazz and the theory, the teaching of the theory of jazz in the very beginning. Although my heart wasn't quite there yet at that age, I got a good foundation and early basic training and theory and sight reading from him. I continued on with him for several years, and of course I learned a lot on my own just from listening to a lot of music records and going to concerts later on. I then went to Berklee School of Music in Boston, which was very inspiring at the time. There were, in and around the school, there were a lot of jazz clubs, and I would just check everybody out, a lot of jam sessions, keeping my ears open to a lot of new ideas. And I got a lot out of that before I got the gig with Chick Corea, and then everything happened from there.
In this section, Al demonstrates improvising over chord changes, beginning with a basic diatonic progression, followed by his approach to soloing over dominant, seventh, and diminished chords.
In a simplified chord scale, such as a C major 7, progressing to a D minor 7, to an E minor 7, to an F major 7, G7, A minor, B minor 7, flat 5, back to the C major 7. In this case, the C major scale will relate to all. My choice would be to play on each chord, but I'm going to give you an example of playing both ways and show you the difference. First, we'll start by hearing each chord, and I'll play only in the C major scale, so playing no sharps and flats, but thinking of mainly a C scale, and then we'll show the other example after that. So let's begin with that first. So that's basically using, or just me thinking mostly of a C major scale. Now, like I said before, my choice would be to play on each chord, I think, if I saw the chart. And then you'll hear how I add sometimes like a G sharp to, when I come to like a G7 dominant chord, I'll add in the flat 9, or even on the last chord of the diatonic chord movement, which would be the B minor 7 flat 5, I'll use also a G sharp in a scale. I think sometimes these out notes colorize a little bit better. So let's give a little example of that. The C major 7 chord, I would probably have two choices, one of which would be a major, just a plain major, Ionian scale, or a Lydian scale, which is preferable, I think, because you have the passing tone being the F sharp. So more often when you see a major 7 chord, I think a Lydian scale may work, depending on the melody. And then the D minor scale is basically that, minor scale, which everybody seems to. I would use scales where I don't so much think of modes, although we can use it as a basis, but primarily I like to target the 3rd or the 7th, or at least the important intervals in the chord.